Have you ever noticed how the loudest voices in your life are rarely the most important? The people who criticize your dreams, the endless stream of opinions, the notifications, the outrage, the drama, the constant demand for your attention. Every day, thousands of voices compete for ownership of your mind, and most people never realize what is happening. They believe they have an attention problem. They believe they lack discipline. They believe they lack motivation. But often, the real problem is much simpler. They are listening to too much. They are carrying too much. They are reacting to too much. And because of that, they become strangers to their own purpose. The greatest performers, leaders, visionaries, creators, and masters throughout history were not people who knew everything. They were people who ignored almost everything. In a world obsessed with consuming more, their secret was selective ignorance. And if you want to protect your focus, your peace, your ambition, and your future, you must learn this skill before the noise of the world drowns out the voice of your own soul. Because the truth is, not everything deserves your attention. Not everything deserves your reaction. Not everything deserves your emotional energy. And not everyone deserves access to your mind. We live in a time where distraction has become a business model. Entire industries are built around stealing seconds from your life. A notification here, a controversy there, a trending topic, a celebrity scandal, a stranger's opinion, an endless stream of urgency that tricks your brain into believing everything matters. But most of it doesn't. Years from now, you won't remember most of the headlines that stole your attention today. You won't remember most of the arguments you wasted energy defending. You won't remember most of the people whose opinions kept you awake at night, but you will remember the dreams you abandoned because you were too distracted to pursue them. You will remember the opportunities you missed because your focus was fragmented. You will remember the version of yourself that could have existed if you had protected your attention more fiercely. Attention is life. Where your attention goes, your future follows. And that is why selective ignorance is not laziness. It is not denial. It is not avoidance. It is wisdom. It is the ability to consciously decide what deserves a place inside your mental world. Imagine carrying a bucket of water across a desert. Every drop matters. Now imagine hundreds of people poking tiny holes in that bucket. One hole is social media comparison. Another is unnecessary drama. Another is gossip. Another is outrage. Another is fear. Another is criticism. Another is the endless need to prove yourself. Individually, they seem insignificant. Together, they leave you empty before you reach your destination. That is what happens to most people. Their energy isn't destroyed by one massive problem. It leaks away through 1,000 tiny distractions, and they wonder why they feel exhausted. The human mind was never designed to carry the weight of everyone's opinions. Yet millions spend their lives imprisoned by the judgments of people they wouldn't trade lives with. Think about that. Some people allow strangers to influence decisions that will shape the next 20 years of their lives. A comment, a laugh, a criticism, a rejection, and suddenly their direction changes. Their confidence weakens. Their vision becomes smaller. But every meaningful achievement in history required a degree of selective deafness. Every innovator was doubted. Every creator was misunderstood. Every leader was criticized. Every dreamer was told to be realistic. The people who changed the world did not succeed because they listened to everyone. They succeeded because they learned who not to listen to. The tragedy is that many people spend years searching for clarity while surrounding themselves with confusion. They ask 10 people for advice and receive 10 different answers. They consume endless content, read endless opinions, watch endless debates, and then wonder why they feel overwhelmed. Too much information can become a prison. Knowledge without direction becomes noise, and noise is the enemy of focus. Sometimes growth is not about learning more. Sometimes growth is about ignoring more. Ignoring negativity, ignoring distractions, ignoring meaningless comparisons, ignoring emotional bait, ignoring people who project their fears onto your future. Because not every voice deserves equal authority. A person who has never built a business should not have equal influence over your entrepreneurial dreams as someone who has. A person who has never demonstrated courage should not define the limits of your potential. A person who abandoned their own goals should not become the architect of yours. Yet people surrender their dreams every day because they listen indiscriminately. Selective ignorance demands courage because there will be moments when everyone around you is paying attention to something that you deliberately choose to ignore. They will call you disconnected. They will call you indifferent. They will call you selfish. But protecting your focus is not selfish. It is responsibility, because your future depends on it. Every extraordinary accomplishment is built upon thousands of moments where someone said no. No to distraction. No to temptation. No to unnecessary drama. No to immediate gratification. No to things that seemed urgent but were ultimately irrelevant. Mastery is not only about what you pursue. It is also about what you refuse to pursue. And perhaps the hardest thing to ignore is comparison. Comparison is one of the loudest voices in the modern world. Every scroll whispers the same dangerous message. You are behind. You are late. You are not enough. Look at them. Look at their success. Look at their wealth. Look at their happiness. But comparison is built upon incomplete information. You are comparing your private struggles to someone's public highlights. You are measuring your beginning against another person's middle. And while you are busy watching their path, you stop walking your own. Selective ignorance means refusing to participate in that game. It means understanding that your journey has its own timeline, its own challenges, its own purpose, its own lessons, and your responsibility is not to outrun everyone else. Your responsibility is to become the person you are capable of becoming. There's another form of noise that silently destroys people. The noise inside their own minds. Old failures, old regrets, old wounds, old stories. The mind can become addicted to replaying pain. It can become trapped in loops of self-doubt. It can spend years revisiting moments that can never be changed. But selective ignorance applies here too. Not every thought deserves your attention. Not every fear deserves your belief. Not every memory deserves your emotional energy. Wisdom is recognizing that thoughts are visitors. You do not have to invite all of them to stay. You do not have to build a home for every fear that knocks on your door. You can acknowledge it, observe it, and let it pass. This is how inner peace is built, not by controlling the world, but by controlling access to your mind. Because the loud world will never become quiet. There will always be more opinions, more distractions, more outrage, more noise. The challenge is not changing the world. The challenge is changing your relationship with it. The strongest minds are not those that absorb everything. They are those that filter wisely. They understand that focus is a sacred resource. Attention is a sacred resource. Life itself is a sacred resource, and they guard it accordingly. Imagine what would happen if you spent the next year ignoring everything that did not serve your purpose. Ignoring unnecessary arguments. Ignoring meaningless validation. Ignoring gossip. Ignoring comparison. Ignoring negativity. Ignoring distractions disguised as opportunities. Imagine how much stronger your mind would become. Imagine how much peace you would experience. Imagine how much progress you would make. The life you want is often hidden behind the noise you tolerate. The future you desire is waiting on the other side of the distractions you refuse to release. And perhaps that is the lesson. You do not need more motivation. You need more protection. Protection of your attention. Protection of your peace. Protection of your purpose. Protection of your future. Because the people who achieve extraordinary things are not always the smartest. Not always the most talented. Not always the most gifted. They are often the most focused. And focus is born from selective ignorance. So today, make a decision. Stop giving your attention away so cheaply. Stop allowing every opinion to rent space inside your mind. Stop feeding distractions that are starving your future. Choose what matters. Choose what deserves your energy. Choose what deserves your focus. And then defend it relentlessly. Because your destiny is not determined by everything you notice. It is determined by what you choose to ignore. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to like this video. Comment below with one distraction you are choosing to ignore starting today. Subscribe for more powerful content on self-mastery, discipline, resilience, purpose, and personal transformation. And remember, a loud world will always compete for your attention, but a meaningful life is built by protecting it.